This is Future News. We are at the Glasgow Life headquarters and we are just about to interview Dr. Bridget McConnell, the Chief Executive of Glasgow Life and one of the main people responsible for Glasgow 2014. So could you just explain to our viewers who you are and what your role is in the Games?
Yes, I've got a number of hats. I'm the Chief Executive of Glasgow Life, which is the organisation, as you know, it runs the culture and sports services for the city, and as such we're a partner with the organising committee. I'm also a board member of Glasgow 2014, and that is a fascinating job, and it's great for the board to see all the hard work coming to fruition now. And I also have responsibility for ceremonies and culture and Queen's Baton Relay delivery as well. So a lot of different things.
So, Dr. McConnell, have the Games been matching up to your expectations?
The Games have just been amazing. I think it's exceeded all our expectations. When we first talked about doing this way back in 2002, which I have to pinch myself when I say that, it's so long ago, we were really clear we wanted the city to own these Games, to feel part of the Games, and there to be a real mood of festival and celebration. And I think what we are witnessing over these past few days is more than that. It really is magical, and as I say, I think it's exceeded our great expectations and wildest dreams. It's wonderful.
Now, the build-up to the Games really began with the Queen's Baton Relay. What did you think of the fantastic reaction to it?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, I think it's a thing of beauty in its own right, but more importantly, it's symbolic, not just of a call to action for the Games, but I think people put their own interpretation on it. It really represented for lots of people what was best about humanity, which is what the Games are supposed to reflect, the best of human achievement in sport and in culture, and let's not forget that element of it too.
Now, the Games kicked off with the opening ceremony the other day, and what did you think of the sort of mixed opinions on it?
I think most of the opinions were actually very favourable. I think the coverage internationally and at home was one of great pride, a real feeling that we had got a lot of very funny points but serious points across. I think Billy Connolly's bit about Nelson Mandela and what was special about this city and how courageous it would be to take tough decisions when others didn't support them. I think we've changed perspectives in Glasgow. I know that Amnesty International have been putting out on social media the Glasgow kiss. It used to have such a negative and violent connotation. Now the Glasgow kiss is something beautiful, contemporary, modern and loving, and I think that is a great change of image for a city.
Definitely. What do you think the Glasgow kiss has had, impact-wise, across the Commonwealth?
I think it speaks very much of the values that Glasgow holds dear, and that is about equality and supporting minority groups in particular, especially those who for whatever reason feel oppressed in any way, and I think that has been so much a character trait within the city for generations and generations. And indeed in the pre-show to the opening ceremony, David Putman spoke about that, how Glasgow was the first place to accept an African-American student who graduated as a doctor and as a pharmacist. He couldn't get educated in America or anywhere else in the world, but Glasgow took him in and he was top of the class at our university here. The fact that we had the Nelson Mandela Freeman of his city, the naming of his square, all of that speaks volumes of what the city is. So I think all of that was really, really important. It was said.
You were talking about the mood of celebration in Glasgow earlier. What do you think about the Glasgow buzz that's been surrounding the event?
It's incredible. It's become quite a phenomenon in its own right. People are talking about it. The downside of it is, I was hearing today, is that sometimes you can't get a table at a restaurant for love nor money. And someone was even suggesting that restaurants were running out of food. There were so many people wanting to be in the city, experiencing the wonderful atmosphere of camaraderie and celebration. And we've always been a festival city, but I think this again has surpassed our wildest dreams, and there is such a wonderful atmosphere both amongst locals out in our far-flung communities in Glasgow and across Scotland, but in the city centre you've got such a mix now of local people, visitors, and they're seeing Glasgow as a surprise. They can't believe what they are discovering because either they've never been here before or had misconceptions about the city.
Now, the games come to a close on Sunday with the closing ceremony. Can you tell us what we can expect from it?
More partying, more celebration, just as we had in the closing ceremony. I think there will be that touch of Glasgow humour. There will be that warmth that certainly exuded now in the street festivals, but also at the opening ceremony, but also those serious points about the kind of city we are and how welcoming we are and how cosmopolitan we aspire to be as well. So there will be also, as we had in the opening ceremony, lots of big names. I can't really tell you who they are, but I'm sure you've been watching all the gossip, and some of them are pretty close, I should say. And there will be wonderful performances. We'll have a really moving flag handover ceremony within all of that to the Gold Coast in Australia, because it's always sad to say goodbye, but it will be celebrating what happens next in Australia. There will be an amazing thank you. Again, I can't tell you too much about it yet, to everyone who's contributed to making these games what they are. That's the volunteers, the Clydesiders, all the people in the council and other agencies who've cleaned the streets, looked after all the other services, the parking, etc. Big thank you to all these people, and it will be done in, as I say, a very generous but very humorous way as well.
You mentioned there about the handover to Gold Coast for the 2018 Games. Do you think Glasgow 2014 will be a hard act to follow?
Yes, of course we are. And that's the whole point of the Commonwealth Games, is that we continue to learn from each other. So you would hope that every Games is better in its own way. It learns lessons from previous Games, but also that it makes the Games its own, and we'll speak of the Gold Coast and Australia. But I think it's always tough to follow a success, and I think I can honestly say most people believe this is a tremendous success. Gosh, we've even brought the weather in the right side for us. It's amazing. I mean, people are most staggered talking about that. They just can't believe how sunny and warm it is. And I think some of us are starting to become a bit deluded, thinking it's always like this.
Now, finally, Dr. McConnell, what do you think the lasting legacy of 2014 will be for Glasgow?
Well, I think the lasting legacy is really multifaceted. I think there's obviously the physical legacy of the venues. There will be the upskilling of all the staff, both within the city itself, but artists and other companies who've been engaged. It will give us confidence about running similar events in future. But I think even now, I was down at the Gorbals today, and I got to name drop with Prince William and Prince Harry, and they were meeting with young people who were volunteers and coaches, learning to become coaches and hopefully get into employment in the not too distant future. And I think for us, we couldn't believe hearing that people are still going to the leisure centres in large numbers. Our Glasgow Club membership is increasing. People, of course, are coming in to see this festival, but they're going to other venues that are not necessarily a direct part of the Commonwealth Games. And we hope that inspiration and excitement that people are currently experiencing will ensure that people are continually motivated to become more involved, either as volunteers or as spectators or as club members or as casual athletes. It would be amazing to just see that whole trend continue. That will definitely be at the front of our minds. We will be really keen to make sure that this is a platform for further development, not just a one-off party.